Hey, this is Dan Carter from Krokodil. You're listening to Metal Wani.
Hey Dan, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
It's really great to be talking to you, Dan. I'm a really big fan of Krokodil, so really excited to be speaking with you. My name's Prat from Metal Wani. So first up, you guys are out with your debut album, Nachash. So how's the response been so far?
Really good, actually. Surprisingly so. When you make a record and stuff for a new band, you have no expectations other than it would be nice to make a record. So, so yeah, the responses have been really good. Obviously, the reviews are just coming in now, but yeah, it all seems really positive.
Great. So first things first, for those who haven't heard you guys or heard of you guys before, can you tell us a bit about how the band started and what propped up the whole idea of doing or putting together this band?
Well, yeah, it all came about just because I was DJing at a club in Birmingham,
All right.
and Lags was DJing as well the same night. I think it was actually the launch of this new sort of club night thing they were doing. So there was myself, him, DJing as well. And I think from another couple of bands, so it was kind of like a bunch of people hanging out, and James and V-Man had actually come along with Lags,
All right.
for the intention of just hanging out and partying, I guess. And by the end of the night, after everyone had finished DJing, we'd all had a few drinks, and then somebody was like, "Oh, we should do a band together."
All right.
That's kind of how it started.
Brilliant. All right, cool. So it was a sort of a spontaneous kind of thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't until a few days later, when everyone had obviously sobered up and got home and stuff, that I kind of texted everybody and sent them some messages saying, "So, do you want to do this band, or was that just one of those conversations?" And everybody was super keen to do it, because originally V-Man had decided that he was going to learn to play drums.
Yeah.
And he was going to play drums in the band, and then as soon as we started writing for it, that was when we were like, well, this is sounding good. We should actually get Dan Ford to play drums, because obviously James knew him from playing with him in Sixth, and I'd done a band with him as well, just like a low key thing.
All right, sweet. Also, the name of the band, I just want to get that out of the way. Krokodil. Are you guys fans of reptiles or something?
Well, that kind of came about just because, like, a bunch of different things, actually. So there was some stuff to do with a book called DMT, The Spirit Molecule, by a guy called Dr. Rick Strassman. He conducted these clinical trials for DMT, and he said that people started to encounter these beings, and they were kind of corroborating each other's stories, that whilst they were on these trips, they were kind of interacting with these beings, and a lot of times they were reptilian, which I thought was kind of interesting, because then it tied in with some stuff that a guy called David Icke has written, which is all these bizarre conspiracy theories about different things, but at the root of it all is because he says that there's this weird alien race of beings that are all lizards from another dimension. And then
Wow.
as soon as you start to get into that kind of stuff, everybody kind of starts to justify these stories with stuff from saying about the Anunnaki and the Bible and the Nephilim and all this kind of stuff. So I thought it was really interesting that it all sort of tied together. And then so I'd sort of put the name forward, and and then James sent me a like a recording of Carl Sagan talking, where he says about how the human brain has developed and the different stages through evolution, and he says that that as the part of the brain, which is one of the oldest parts of the brain, is called the R complex, which is for reptile.
All right.
And he says, and then at the end of the quote, he says, "So deep inside your brain is something rather like the brain of a crocodile," and that kind of sealed the deal for me. So that was that.
That's pretty bizarre. I mean, I've never heard such a theory before, so that's pretty cool. Something new.
Yeah, well, it's the part of the brain just on top of the brain stem. So it's the thing which controls all the really sort of basic instincts, like like aggression and territory and sort of predatory instinct, I guess.
And also, I mean, given the names of the tracks, you have some really interesting track names, which are really intriguing, as well as the album title, of course. So, what do the concept that you just explained to me? Do the tracks reflect some of those concepts?
Well, I mean, it kind of carries across, and as soon as we started to think about these things it's not a concept record, but things start to tie up, and we started looking into things like ancient mythology, from like in Egyptian mythology. One of the gods is a crocodile god called Sobek, and he's the one that when people die and their deeds are measured, I guess they do it by, the stories goes that they weigh the human heart against a feather, and if they balance out, then a person's lived a good life, and they go off and ascend to another place. But then if things don't work out, then they get devoured.
That's pleasant.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's pretty cool. And you've also got you've got a track called Sleep Well Medusa. So there's a bit of Greek mythology. Then you've got a track called Reptilia, Familiar. So there's a lot of different things going on in the album.
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of tie up though, I think. But then, most mythology does. It all kind of converges at some point, and religion, etc. So.
All right, so let's talk about the new album. I mean, I listened to it twice, and it's really, really diverse. And you've got a bit of hardcore, you've got some sludgy elements, you've got an instrumental track. So there's a lot of different things going on, and I couldn't really categorize you guys into one particular genre. So, I mean,
I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. It is a good thing, because I love variation in the music that I listen to. And especially coming from a new band. So what was the writing process like when you were, writing this album? And, what were the ideas you guys had when you were composing music for it?
Well, as far as all the songwriting goes, the initial songwriting, it was just between myself. I wrote a bunch of the songs, and then Dan Ford wrote a bunch of songs as well. And then we would each demo the songs that we'd written and then send them across to everybody else, and people would pull them apart and work on them and approach them from their own perspective. So, which is great, but it isn't necessarily the way I think we'll work on another record, because it's already, we're jamming stuff, and it seems a bit more collaborative now. But at that point, it was everybody. For example, I would send a song over to everyone, and it would be James and Dan in particular would kind of pull things apart and rework them, and those guys have such a distinctive way of working things, especially to do with a lot of rhythmic sort of stuff and syncopation, because, I mean, that's what Sixth are kind of known for, I guess. So yeah, it kind of evolved from that, just sending demos backwards and forwards.
And I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, there's so much diversity in the album, and it's sort of, it's very unpredictable. You don't know what's coming next. That's a good way to keep the listener hooked to, the album. So was that kind of flow spontaneous? So did you guys initially, when you started out, have in mind what you wanted the album to sound like?
No, it was all very much, that's just kind of how it took shape. And it was funny because there were certain songs that, like, what would be a good example? For, I guess, like, if you compare something like Shatter to Skin of the Earth, they're very different things. Skin of the Earth is, but I wrote both those songs, but I figured once everybody had played on them and interpreted them in their own way, that because they're very different things, I knew that they'd sit well together and it would be cohesive, and it wouldn't sound like, well, here's this kind of very stripped down, almost Queens of the Stone Age style riff with a sort of a punk vibe to it. It will still sit with the more intricate crushing sort of stuff, because everybody would have played on it, and that will be the common thread throughout it all.
Fair enough. All right, cool. And I actually have a really interesting question. I mean, I've read a lot of reviews where people refer to you guys as a supergroup, and personally, I feel that that label is sort of thrown around without any real meaning. So, what do you think about that label, being labeled as a supergroup?
I don't know. I think it can be quite a derogatory thing, actually, because instantly people make assumptions about it, and it, no one wants to label themselves that anyway. Yeah, essentially, at the end of the day, we're just a group of mates who formed a band and written some songs together because we knew each other and we enjoyed hanging out with each other and enjoyed playing music together. But the fact that everybody is in other bands or has played in other bands, that's neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, every musician I know that plays in a band has been in other bands. It's just one of those things. So it always comes across, it always makes me wince a little to read that, because people will instantly assume, I think it just has too many negative connotations, and it sounds like you're kind of going, oh, check us out, we're a super group. And it's, none of us would ever refer to ourselves as that at all. I said, like, I prefer the term superb group.
See, that was very sophisticated, yeah. No, I mean, like you said, you guys are a bunch of mates getting together and, just creating good music. And that brings me to the next question. I mean, given that all members are from different bands and you guys have different sounds, different styles, different ways of approaching music, how was it when you guys got together and jammed? I mean, very different styles being brought together.
Yeah, I guess. The thing is, it's the record was written prior to any of us actually getting together and playing in a room together. Like, because as I said, we were just sending things backwards and forwards, and it felt like it was going to be one of those bands that was just a bunch of friends telling their other friends, oh yeah, we're in a band together, until we actually did something about it and made it a concrete thing. So I booked a show. We actually got asked if we wanted to play, like, Andy Copping is a guy that books it's the biggest festival here for as far as metal goes. There's a festival called Download. And okay, so he sent me a message and was like, oh, I hear you've got a band together with Lags. Do you want to play Download? And I initially said no. I was like, thanks for the offer, but I don't think that would be right. But then I realized that unless we actually had something to work towards, we just carry on, and it would be this aimless thing, writing songs, sending demos backwards and forwards, and so I I called him up and I was like, actually, is that offer still standing? And he was like, yeah, of course. So then that was the first time we actually got together to play together. Was the festival. Yeah, was actually the festival. We had one rehearsal.
Wow. So you
And
guys
then,
just practiced once and then you went and played download.
yeah, because V Man was actually on tour with Mastodon, because he's was Breton's guitar tech at that point. And the morning of the gig, it was actually that was the first time that he met Simon, our singer. And so they like everybody was kind of pushing amps on stage, and and like carrying gear onto stage, getting ready to play. And I was like, oh, Simon, this is V Man. V Man, this is Simon. And they were like, oh, what's up? So
So they
yeah,
basically met on the day.
yeah, the morning that we played. So, but it
Great.
went well.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, that brings me to the next one. I mean, I was really stoked when I heard that you guys played. I mean, you're only a few years old, maybe 2 or 3 years old.
I guess realistically, um, as an actual band, I guess do you count that from when a band actually does their first rehearsal and first show, or from the point where everyone's going, oh yeah, we're in a band together?
Depends on you. How would you
Yeah,
define it?
I don't know. I mean, I get if you're going to say from the show, then yeah, it's probably only like a year and a bit.
And I
But
mean, you guys have played Sonisphere, Bloodstock, Download,
yeah,
so many. How did that all happen so quickly for you guys in this 1 year?
I think um, I think it's just a case of, because everybody has played in other bands, and has been doing this for years. We we know pretty much everyone, and and yeah, and because we know everyone, people started getting in contact, going, "Oh, I hear you're in a band with V Man," or "Oh, you and Lags are in a band with James and Dan from Sixth," and so loads of people were just asking us, and we were like, and loads of other bands as well, um, and we were just saying, yeah, we started doing this, and we're working on a record and blah blah blah. So everyone was going, "Oh, you should come and do this with us," or this is the same thing with the Mastodon tour that's coming up. Like those guys were like, "Oh, you're all in a band together. You should come and do our tour." And I know that's already annoying a lot of other bands that are starting out, that have been going at on a comparative level, bands that have been going for the same amount of time. I know that that's annoying them, but
Well,
at the end
that's
of
a
the
good sign in a way.
I guess so, but at the end of the day, we've all paid our dues. Everybody has been in bands long enough, and
It's about how hard you guys push and how hard, you promote
yeah,
your stuff, so it's fine. But
yeah, I guess so.
yeah, and given that you've played a few big festivals, I'm pretty sure you guys have played a few, club and pub sort of gigs. So
Yeah, we've done a couple of small club shows too. It's not just the big ones, but yeah.
do you prefer the big festival culture, the scene, or do you prefer more intimate club and pub gigs where you get to interact more with the people and?
Um, well, there's pluses and downsides to both of them, really. Um, at the end of the day, because everybody does other bands and does other things, we can't operate like a lot of other bands would, where they would go around and do, let's go out and do 30 dates around small clubs around the UK or around Europe or wherever, because of commitments. So we've kind of looked at it and gone, well, if we get asked to play a festival, or get asked by a band like Mastodon to support them, we just have to weigh it up and go, well, we can play to more people in the course of a day or over the course of a UK and European tour than we would do if we did 2.5 years of like small club shows. And so we're just like, well, let's just do those. So I like playing those big shows because there is something about it, to because it's good vibes, but at the same time, playing in a tiny club when there's kids just like, you know, with no barrier, just like stage diving and going off in front of you, and you can, you know, if you lean in, you can get involved in the pit, then that's awesome as well. But and that's super exciting. But so there, you know, there's pluses and minuses to both of those, I guess. I like them both as much as each other because of that.
For sure. So I mean, you guys have an upcoming tour with Mastodon. So what else? What's the touring schedule like for Krokodil next year?
Well, we're looking at trying to do a couple of headline shows, but there will only be a couple, I think, but just because of commitments. But then we've already lined up a few things for festivals here in the UK. There's like an amazing festival taking place called Temples, which is in Bristol, which is kind of like Roadburn. It's the same kind of vibe. Do you know what I mean? So we're playing that. The lineup for that's awesome. And there's a couple of other festival offers at the moment, and I'm kind of hoping that by the time we're done on this tour, then we should be able to look at getting to do some more European festival shows.
Sweet. Is there any chance of seeing Krokodil in India anytime soon next year? Is it on your list of places to hit with the new album?
Well, I'd love to. It would be incredible. I know the scene's really, really grown there, and it's really vibrant. And I've got family in India as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Well, I have family in Delhi, but I also have family that live in Himachal Pradesh, right up in the top. There's like a village up, but it's like a hill station called Dalhousie.
Oh yeah, Dalhousie, yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. You should bring your band over.
Well, hopefully, like I know that I would love to. I know that Sixth have had offers recently to play, and they just, in fact, James and Dan just got back from Nepal as well. So yeah, I would love to.
All right, cool. Well, we hope we see you soon here. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, before
whereabouts are you then?
I live in the south in Chennai.
Okay.
Yeah, but a lot of the shows hit like Delhi and Bangalore. You know, so all of the big cities. But yeah, it'd be great. Again, before I let you go, you guys are very diverse, as I said. The music you play is really varied. And as I said, it's really hard to categorize you guys into one genre. But how would you describe your sound to people who haven't heard you, or, you know, who are yet to hear your new album? The tough question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably easier just to say go and have a listen on YouTube or SoundCloud. But I think, you know, the initial intention was just to form a metal band, and I think that's what we are. And I think, you know, that there are elements of post rock and things like that, and the bands that we love are quite varied. But I guess at the end of it, I feel that at the heart of it all is kind of a modern, forward-thinking metal band.
Yeah. Oh, great. And what do you guys, more of a general question, what do you guys like to do to just kill time and, you know, bum around?
I mean, everybody does loads of different things. I know James and Dan actually both teach.
What? I'm a teacher as well. That's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, Dan obviously teaches drums, James teaches bass. Everybody does loads of different things, but most of it revolves around music. I paint. So yeah, you know, everyone's into different things. Everyone's pretty varied.
All right, so last message to, you know, people who, you know, are listening to Krokodil, who haven't heard of Krokodil, what would you tell them around the world?
Perhaps. I don't know. I would just say I hope you enjoy the music, and maybe if you're interested to maybe look into some of the things that are going on behind it and some of the ideas within it, and you might find some more stuff that you find interesting.